All right, everyone, welcome back. We are going to continue with perhaps one of our last recordings, and for the year 2021. So, in this video, we are going to look at the last topic of choice as feedback by the class through the survey. So, I think most of us face problems with word problems. And here we are looking at some of the questions with regards to two-step word problems involving multiplication and division. And the questions we are going to look at are question 14, question 29, and question 31. So you look at the tabs at the bottom, or you'll be able to skip to the question if you feel that either of them is not what you need to look at. If you got them right, you can understand them fully. Otherwise, welcome to our first question. This is question 14. Okay, let me zoom it up a little bit. Okay, here, as of good practice, I will do this again. Write my raise at the side. The good practice of reading the question twice. Gets a bit tricky when you see a few lines in the problem. But the first thing you could tell yourself is that read the statements as the problem gives you in the lines. So go line by line. That's one of the ways. Read it the information as a whole, and go through information line by line. That will probably help. Okay, so one tip there. Okay, shop A bakes 30 cakes. Shop B bakes 4 times as many cakes as shop A. Shop B bakes twice as many cakes as shop C. How many cakes does shop C bake? So I read that the first time, and we were going to take, as I've explained earlier, those of us who are good at reading will probably be doing the annotation as you're reading for the next second reading. Now, as you read, I'd like you to point out, to look carefully, what are some of the words that are repeating themselves? What are the words, okay, or numbers that are unique? And what are some of the words that gives you hints of the relationship between the characters of the story? And of course, finally, what's the question tag, the question word that tells you what you need to identify? Okay, so I'm going to do my annotations as I'm reading. So the first of all, as I do with my class, is to do two habits when doing annotations. One, to circle all the numbers, put them to arrows to what there's tagged to them, like a price tag. So the numbers and the price tag, the object that is tied to, as well as underline or highlight the character involved. Okay, so I'm going to read it another time. Shop A bakes 30 cakes. So I've got 30 cakes here. Shop B bakes 4 times as many cakes as shop A. So I will see 4 times as many as, and then you see the next line. Shop B bakes twice as many as. Okay, so these are the words that's got to do with the numbers. Okay, and then you see as many as, that shows you the relationship. And finally, let me use another color. How many? That's a question tag. Does shop C bake? So you know that here you have C. That's the question mark, right? That's the question. So those of us who are quick, you probably be able to identify already. There are 3 characters here. I'm going to highlight here in 3 different colors. Shop A in blue. I see A and I put it in blue. And pink, I'm going to put it at B, and then you see B repeating itself. So I've done somewhat an annotation, but I don't think that's enough yet. Let me just show it to you. What do I mean by there's more to be that you can do in the annotation. So 30 is A. So I pointed to A is 30 cakes. And then you have a relationship of B being 4 times as many as A. And then the last part, B is repeating. So I draw B to B, B to B, and then you have C. Now, for those of us who have a bit of trouble understanding, which actually one of the biggest issue with word problems is you might be reading the sentences, but you don't get what the story is talking about. It seems like a blur, so confusing, and you're like, what is going on? All right, so okay, so you have 3 characters. So what helps will be making notes at the side, like how I am doing now. It's like digesting the question, breaking it down. So I have A, B, C. The 3 characters are here. Okay, so for my classes, and you probably have the habit of that we have gone through previously, the ideas of bigger numbers, sum and difference, things like that, right? And units and the ideas of unitary methods. Now, so a little bit. So those of you who recall that, that's very good. Okay, that means you know how to apply some of the annotation and comprehending skills. Okay, for those of us who don't get what I'm saying at all, never mind. Let's just put out some of the notes I can write down here. So A, do I know? Yes, I do have A. I have that as 30 cakes. So I know A. Is it the smallest number or the biggest number? I'm not very sure. Go on to the next one. Do I know B? No, actually, I don't know B. And I also don't know C. And C is the one that I'm supposed to answer. Right? So I know that's the B that's missing. Now, the next question says B 4 times as many as A. So B is 4 times of A. That means it's got bigger than A. Okay, and then B twice as much as C is. So, which is also meaning that, oh, B is also greater than C, saying that B is actually 2 times of C. Now, this may be a little bit confusing, and that's why I would say the model method really helps. So I'm going to draw what it means at the side here. I have a certain bar here, and this bar here stands for 30 cakes. Okay, and that's A, short A. The next problem comes, next statement comes. The next statement says, I have B, and B says, I have 4 times as A. That means it's 4 times of A. So those of you who remember what I said about the unitary method. So if it's A is 1 unit, like 1 ticket, okay, so B is 4 times. That means I will have 4 same size models, and that would mean what B is. So this is one set of model. But if you look at the second one, B, if I want to draw B at the bottom, the same B, that means this is what B actually is. This whole bar, you can see that this is the exact same one. But the third statement here, okay, shows a different set of information. It shows that B is twice of C. So I actually have 2 units for B, and then over here, I have C that is 1 unit here. But this is the very confusing bit. It's like, this is 1 unit, C, this is 1 unit, and then you have A that is also 1 unit. And then you see there are 1 unit all representing different things. Now you see why this question is difficult, because the unit size changes. But if you can see what stays consistent, what stays the same throughout, okay, then you'll be able to solve the problem. So in this case, B is the one that is the same throughout A, B, and C. We're talking about the relationships between them. So if you can see that, then you'll be able to see how the number of units of B actually changed from that. So if this is all too difficult for you to understand, what you can do, like how I said earlier, put the information in step by step. So let's say if I go through the step by step approach here. Okay, I'm going to use gray here. I've got the first step, A, and then I want to find B. B is the one that's question mark here. So I've got A. That will mean these units here are all in same size. So meaning I have B and B will be 4 times of A, that is 30 cakes. And with my times table, I know B stands for 120 cakes. Now you've got this step here done up. If you move on to the next step here, B, which is the third line in the sentence, if B stands for 120 cakes, here, you want to find C, right? So that means actually that you have got, see, this is 120 cakes altogether, and it's made out of 2 units. So what do I know? I will be able to know that, okay, that if I'm going to erase this, I will do 120 divided by the 2 units, and that would be 60 cakes. So that's this question for this answer for this question 14. Now, a quick idea of how sometimes crossing out helps is that if you look at how the other answers in this multiple choice questions comes up with, how you get 15, 120, and 240, they are all possible answers, but they are the wrong answers, is if you have skipped some of the lines as you're reading. So if those of you who can understand why this, you can get this, and why these are wrong, you are like advanced step of understanding. Okay, say like, for example, if you think you got 15 is because 30 divided by 2, that's how you skipped out the second line. You thought 30 is B, then that is the explanation, and then you times, and then you got this, that is B actually. Okay, that's just this step. Okay, so you didn't move on to the next step, which is you've got to divide by 2. And if you think twice, that means and you put the relationship wrong. You thought C was the bigger number, and you do 180 times 2. That's how you got 240. Okay, so that's the explanation of the distractors there that cause you that you might have chose the wrong answer because of what these are the reasons why you thought they are the answers. Okay, so that's question 14. Right, moving on, we are going to do the next question. That's question 29. Do a quick step here. Yes, okay. Okay. I noticed that previously when I wrote down the rays for the question number 14, I did RA and I didn't do C and E. I didn't tick it off. But if you notice that how I did my answers, I've moved on to C naturally, and how I was explaining about how you can check your answers by eliminating the distractors. Okay, that is the E part. Okay, so as you get more and more familiar with this, the steps of RACE race, so it's a thought process. So it's good if you could go through the process like how I did. It's not a must to write that down. RACE, that doesn't give you any marks, but it's a good reminder for those of us who have not internalized the methods of comprehending and answering a word problem. Okay, so in this question, Marvin has 900 grams of cherries. He packs them into 5 boxes. The mass of the empty box is 30 grams. What is the mass of each box of cherry? Now, I read that quite fast. If you have read it like how I did just now, you'd probably be like some of us who had the problem, and that's why we can't deal with this problem is you could read it, but you don't understand what's going on. So you need to, apart from reading it, understand what is going on with it. And for some of our friends here, it's helpful if you know how to draw, and sometimes a quick sketch of what goes on does help. Okay, so I'm going to read it again. This time pay attention to the annotation at the same time. And as I'm reading, I do the annotation, circling the words, keywords as I go. So Marvin has 900 grams of cherries. I circle all the numbers first. He packs them into 5 boxes. I circle the numbers with the text attached to it. The mass of the empty box is 30 grams. So these are the numbers that I see in the question. What is the mass of each box of cherry? The next step of annotations, I will try to join the words so this is the cherry. Marvin's not very important here. I can change Marvin to another person's name. And you see, you read it again, does it matter? You realize that it doesn't really matter much. But of course, yes, Marvin refers to he and he is Marvin. Now, what's more important is understanding what went on in the story. So if you can understand he stands for Marvin and the them stands for the cherries, will be about the first step to getting through this question. And then the next part about here, the empty box is 30 grams. So you are able to connect the okay you're able to connect the keywords to the word that is representing. So in this case, the empty box. And then here goes what's the mass, which is the confusing part. What is the mass of each box of cherry? Okay, and many of us just went to 900 grams, and some of us wrote 900 grams as the answer, but that's not correct. Okay, you realize that this final part talks about each box of cherry. So if you're still fumbling at, okay, what is this question talking about? Let me see about, try to help you to understand by drawing some sketches. Okay, so I did my annotations here, but to help you a little bit more, imagine Marvin here. This is Marvin. Okay, let me just. Marvin here has some cherries. So imagine these cherries here. Don't know how many, but just whole big of bag of them. Okay, whole big of cherries that he bought from the supermarket, and then these cherries he's going to give them to someone else. Maybe I don't know what he's doing, but he went home with them, and maybe he wants to eat them on separate days, so he put them in boxes. So here this says 5 boxes. So I've got 5 boxes here, and draw them with little bowls like boxes. And what he does is he takes the cherry out and put them into these boxes. Okay, and what happens is this box have a mass each. So each of them is the empty box itself. When it's empty, is 30 grams. So after putting the cherries into it, okay, after putting the cherries into it, he's going to put them on the weighing scale. So here he's going to put them on a weighing scale, and it tells you how much is the weight. Okay, so he put the box. So he put the box of cherry onto a weighing scale, and there are some cherries in it. Okay, don't know how many, but there are some cherries in it, and then he put them in the box. So that's the final weight. So if you can get through this process of understanding what went on in the story, you'll be better able to answer the question. So here you go. You have some cherries. He packs them in 5 boxes. So if I were to change this into a model, so here you've got one whole set of cherries at 900 grams, the whole of the cherries, and he packs them into 5 boxes. So I've chopped this whole bar into 5 boxes, and I want to find how heavy is, one set of cherries. And then, so I'll go the step one, first step. Okay, first step, I'll do the 900 grams of cherries divided into 5 sets. Okay, I'll call it 5 units. And my long division has to come in. Okay, so I'll do the long division, and gentle reminder to everyone to really dutifully practice and long division algorithm. What's wrong with this writing? Okay, so revise on your long division algorithm to get this right. Okay, so here I have 180 grams, and that actually meant that there's one set of cherries. So you have the cherry, one set, okay, one unit of cherries, that is one set of cherries, plus the empty box. That's what the box is made out of cherries is made out of. Pardon the handwriting. This touchscreen sometimes just fails me. Plus the empty box. Okay, so that will be 180 grams plus the empty box, that's 30 grams. So plus the empty box, that's 30 grams, you'll get a total of 210 grams. Okay, so that is the answer for this question, 210 grams. Okay, check the units. If you like, you can go do the reverse multiplication to check the answer. Okay, so that's for question 29. Okay, so this is question 31, the question on the flower pots. Actually, this question is quite a common question. You see that happening because it tests one of the most important concepts in the ideas of measurements and sometimes patterns. If you are able to understand intervals. So previously, when we talk about fractions on the number line in the previous video, you also heard me talking about, I'm going to go through this question. So the ideas of intervals, finding intervals is common throughout different topics as well. Okay, so over here, this is question 31. Sorry, 5 flower pots were placed in a straight line. The flower pots were placed in equal distance apart. What is the distance between the first flower pot and the fifth flower pot? Write your answers in kilometers and meters. Okay, so that's my first reading. 5 flower pots are placed in a straight line. As you can see in the drawing below, it helps you. But there are some missing plots. Okay, you say 5 and there's only 3 here. The flower pots are placed in equal distance apart. What is the distance between the first flower pot and the fifth flower pot? So you can see the drawings here trying to help you to understand what the question is. And the last statement, which is the most important one, which I'll do the annotation right now because it's got to do with the units. Okay, it's essential in our final steps of choosing and evaluating later. So the units here shows you that maybe I will need to do some conversion of units. So that's the special thing about measurement chapters. Okay. Now, here to highlight, you have 5 flower pots stated in the question. You're supposed to have 5 of them. And again, I say that you only see 3. I mean, there's one here, there's another one here, and the fifth one's here. So what happened to the one in between? Now, some of our friends, they help themselves by drawing in another flower pot. Here, the third one, and then another 4 flower pot here to help themselves to answer this question and therefore get the right answers. Yeah, sometimes drawing helps and filling the drawing helps. But the problem is if the question goes unto, say, asking you for the 21st flower pot, for example, or the 100th flower pot, you are going to take a long while to do the drawing if you're going to rely on drawing. So it's important to ultimately know how this works. Okay, so you have the first, second, third, fourth, fifth here. It gives you the idea of them being lining up like people in a queue line. The flower pots are placed equal distance apart. Equal distance apart, meaning the space between them is the same. So they are equally spaced apart. Okay, I'm drawing the extra line here to mark out the spacing. Now, some of us will click to answer and they will just go, oh, 5 flower pots. And then there's this number given here. And then what they do is just quickly do 5 and then they quickly do 5 multiply by 275 and they got an answer, and that will immediately be a wrong answer. Okay, this is incorrect. Let me use another. This is not correct. Okay, because if you have really understood this question, asking the distance between the first flower pot, like how the question marks here, and to the 5th flower pot, and you must look at what you mean by 275 meters. As to how the model is being drawn here, I use the highlighter, green highlighter to show you. 275 meters shows you the space between the first flower pot and the second flower pot. And that's the one highlighted in the luminous green. If I were to write in, this will be, you will notice that between the second and third flower pot is also 275 meters. As well as between the third and the fourth flower pot is also 275 meters, and then between the fourth and the fifth is also 275 meters. So essentially you're looking at 4 spaces. Now, I've done my reading, done my annotation. Here I'm already at my C. So if you have chosen times 5, you get it wrong. So if you look at the spaces, there are actually 4 spaces between, we call them intervals, okay, between the first flower pot to the 5th flower pot. So that's why you go actually 275 meters multiplied by 4. So I'll go do my long multiplication. Gentle reminder to those of us who are not so good with our times table is please use this while to practice. Okay, it'll be really helpful if you can practice and commit to memory your times table and division tables, and it can help you to solve answers fast. Okay, so here I will get 1,100 meters. Now, don't forget the last step here, which some of us got partial marks because of missing out this step. You need to do the conversion. So 1,100 meters will give you actually 1,000 meters plus 100 meters, which many of us know by now. That stands for 1 kilometer and 100 meters. Okay, so do your check. to remind yourself of the conversion. And then you'll be able to get this question solved. Okay. Right, this is the last question, question 31, that we will be looking at for this topic. Thank you.